Hello, everyone.
Hi there.
A friend this week asked a very interesting question that had us thinking and discussing and researching to get to the bottom of this. And I don't think we'll get to right down to the bottom. It's such a vast area. But the question was, what does creativity or creative activity do to us? How does it influence us? Um, and of course, there are many different areas of influence. And we had a look at that. And it was so interesting to discover just how deep this goes. That it really goes down to a cellular level. But just to start the conversation off, what does being creative, doing creative things do to you? What happens in and with you?
What is interesting is that this question is what is happening to you, and one starts reading up and you see all these things and how it ties into personal experience
Yes.
in terms of this is what you feel when
Yeah.
you're busy with that, when
Yeah.
you get into the flow. And when we talk here about creativity, it's that space where we love to be at, and that is you become one with what you're busy with.
Now you go into a certain flow
Exactly.
where the inner critic becomes quiet, where you're not so aware of time and space and even the weather, whether it's cold, hot. You're just so focused and in that flow. And that is, I think, we don't always know that we're in that. I might be cooking. And that's the other thing that we must talk about is the definition of creativity. But I might be doing a very simple thing, but I'm focused on that. I'm smelling the food. I'm experimenting with some different herbs or whatever. And I'm so completely, it again has to do with presence and awareness as well.
Yes.
And something happens in that process of being totally there.
Yeah. Because there's this feeling of something beautiful opening up.
Yeah. And a feeling of pleasure, of enjoyment.
Exactly. And on a very deep level, a sense of being part of something bigger. This isn't my project. This is a collaboration on a much wider front that you don't even understand. There's something mysterious about that also. But it makes you excited. You enjoy discovering new things, opening up. And you might start with a certain idea, but you end up in another place and you say, now, isn't that wonderful to see where this went?
I think there's a lot of surrender necessary to get to that place, because we often have this idea of what we want to do and we force it on the creative act. So this is what I want to get at, and if I don't get to that, then I'm not satisfied.
And we get very
And we
frustrated.
get frustrated. And I think often we are also not really that well willing to practice. I mean, often to get to those places, we really need to practice, whatever craft or art that is. But I think just to clarify that again is that we've talked about this often, about the very narrow definition that we have of creativity.
Yes.
And how that actually doesn't help us in terms of a life and in terms of how the importance that we actually need to put onto simple things that requires creative thinking.
Yeah, because it can happen that people listen to this conversation that we are having and they say it's quite interesting and so on, but it isn't really applicable on my life and
Yeah.
the way I do things. I do not paint. I'm not a sculptor or an author or a writer or anything. I meddle with a few things and so on, but I'm not creative.
Yes, that we often hear that.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think it has to do with only applying creativity to the arts or
Yes.
crafts, that type of thing.
Exactly. And what we are saying with this, and by looking at the effect of creativity on our lives and our well-being, it applies to all of us.
And to everything.
Yes.
We have to live creatively all the time. Choices, raising children, cooking, the way you decorate your house,
Being in
what
a
you
relationship.
what you find beautiful or not beautiful. Those are all creative choices and decisions that we are making.
Yes.
And I think that that definition that we put together, specifically because of the frustration with this concept of creativity being so narrow,
Yes.
is very important to keep at the back of your mind while we're talking about creativity.
Exactly. Because when we started with creativity retreats, time and time again, we came across people who said, you know what, it sounds lovely, and I would have loved to join, but in all honesty, I'm not creative.
I'll be out of place.
I'll be out of
Yeah,
place.
yeah.
And we realized it's that narrow definition focused on painting, sculpting, all the things that we usually equate creativity with. And we said, but that's not what creativity is. So our definition, we sat with it and we thought about it and so on. And in the end, we came to this definition where we said being creative is to be a unique, open channel for the free flow of endless possibilities.
Now, so it again has to do with that flow, and it happens through you.
It can only happen through us.
Yeah, so it's an
Yeah.
openness, a surrender to that.
Yeah.
But just in terms of what we were talking about, and in terms of how we feel when we're doing something creative, is that it can actually be measured also by the improvement in our cognition and in our problem solving, in reducing stress, and that's physical, because when we're busy with, or if we are living a creative life, we are actually, our bodies are excreting more dopamine, which is the feel-good hormone, which reduces your stress levels, which opens you up more, you being more sociable, you connect better, all of those things, and that's biologically what happens.
And tell me, I mean, that is now scientifically backed or
Yeah.
substantiated.
Yeah.
Do you experience that when you're busy with your creative process?
For sure. It's like I go to a very deep place where everything just seems more possible. Even if it's problems, I've often found that if something feels really unsurpassable, and I decide to go about it creatively, I decide that there will be creative solutions, whether it's decisions or, then I so much more enjoy the process of that very difficult thing. It might be organizing something like this arts and crafts fair that has so many different levels of things that must happen. But if you are open to it creatively, it becomes a very good experience.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what your medium is.
Yeah.
Whether it is people and their skills that you
No,
must
it
bring
can be
together in a
anything.
team,
Yes.
whether it is a program that must
Makes sense.
makes sense,
and
and that
be interesting and enticing. Whether you're doing marketing flyers, all of that can be so creative and enjoyable.
it can be if we can give you homework, take notes in this coming week of things that you do that
Yeah.
you've never thought of as being creative,
Yes,
and
yes.
in what ways they actually are.
Yeah.
But I was interrupting you. You
Yeah.
were naming all the advantages.
Yeah, so, and there's so many, improves concentration, it sparks innovation. Often I would just say, I don't really have a solution for this, but there must be some creative outflow from this. I'll just let it go for a bit.
Mm.
And then it comes because it
Mm.
is in that flow, allowing that flow. It helps
Well,
us to be more adaptable as well,
that's
because
very
we are not
important.
so much in control. We're not trying to, but on a physical cellular level, it's been, we've listened to listened to a very interesting podcast where it was a scientific experiment with young mothers who suffers from postnatal depression, and they formed a singing group for these mothers with their babies. They would come together every week and have these beautiful singing sessions, and they would be measured, saliva tests, DNA hair tests, and the levels of the proteins that was being expressed, and the positiveness, and how depression levels went down. It absolutely happens at a cellular level.
Yeah.
And that's important to realize, that to be creative improves not only our well-being, it improves our health,
Physical
our
health.
immunity, all of that. It improves that.
So a very, very interesting question. A question that helped us to delve deeper and look further.
Yeah.
So
Thanks a
thank
lot
you
for
very
that.
much for that. And for other questions that you might have and that you send through. It's always keeps us talking in the weeks and around the
We
table.
need something to talk about.
Yeah, thank you everybody, and
Keep
we'll
well, everyone.
talk again next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.